Good afternoon. Bullets were flying in the city's northwest early this morning with shots fired at 3 different businesses.
One person was taken to hospital in one incident, and now police are investigating whether the shootings are linked. CTV's John Musselman has been following the investigations and joins us live with more. John.
Well, Nathan, we can tell you the injury happened at the business behind me when the gunshots rang out around 5:37 a.m., police tell us. We'll show you some video this morning. Police were sealing off the building. We noticed bullet holes in at least 2 vehicles, a Mercedes in front of the building, and also a smaller gray car had a bullet in the window. Now, the information we have received from the people associated with that business is that a security guard inside the gray vehicle was grazed by a bullet and was taken to hospital in serious condition. Now, a couple of things to point out here. According to the people who work in the building, that they say a day prior, someone tried to smash into a side window there with a sledgehammer. They had to put plywood up, and then this morning there was gunshots again that went through the plywood right into the business. And I'm also told by the people who work here that this building was an arson investigation back in the summer, and they've redone the interior of the building, and then this damage happened as well. Now, there was also a shooting 15 minutes earlier on Weston Road in Fenmar that hasn't been connected yet, but of course police will be looking into whether there's any connection to each of these cases. Reporting live on the scene at Kipling and Belfield, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back inside to you.
All right, thank you, John. Peel police say they're now treating the disappearance of a woman in Mississauga in 2022 as a homicide. 38-year-old Mesgan Ainai, who also went by the name Sarah, was last seen near Dundas and Dixie in June of 2022. She was reported missing last June when her family in Afghanistan was unable to reach her. Police are asking anyone with information to contact them.
One man is dead, another remains in life-threatening condition following a crash in Pickering. This happened shortly after 8 p.m. on Friday on Brock Road, north of Taunton Road. Durham police say a Toyota sedan was traveling south on Brock Road when it lost control and entered the northbound lanes, colliding with a pickup truck. An 18-year-old passenger in the sedan died at the scene, while a 21-year-old man was ejected from the vehicle. He was taken to a Toronto trauma center where he remains in life-threatening condition. A 58-year-old man and 42-year-old woman who was driving the vehicle were also taken to hospital and remain in stable condition. The 56-year-old driver of the pickup truck was assessed at the scene. The cause of this crash is still under investigation.
One person was taken to hospital after possible carbon monoxide exposure at a home in Etobicoke. Emergency crews were called to a home on Taysham Crescent near Kipling and Finch just before 2 a.m. Toronto Fire says elevated levels of carbon monoxide were detected in the area. The victim was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, while several other people were assessed at the scene. The source of the leak has been identified.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, the latest on the evolving situation in the Middle East. We'll have more on the widening conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel a little later in the newscast. But first, here at home, a major downtown intersection is now closed for more than a month as crews complete repair work in the area.
Bay and College was shut down early this morning, creating a major traffic disruption. CTV's Mike Walker has been following this story and joins us live with reaction to the closure. Mike.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, you can probably hear, and you definitely see that work is well underway. What's happening right now is crews are removing the existing streetcar tracks. This is the first phase of the construction project, which will result in this intersection of Bay and College being off limits for around the next 6 weeks. Now, the TTC and the city are working in tandem on 2 separate infrastructure projects. Along with the streetcar tracks, the city will also be replacing sewers and pipes in the area. This work is being done 24/7, with the city stating the most disruptive work, which includes concrete breakup, will happen in the first 2 days. Now, it's critical infrastructure for the TTC that must be replaced on its 3rd busiest streetcar route that carries about 29,000 daily riders. But for those transit riders and drivers, this means plenty of detours and diversions and some extra time to get to their destinations. Here's more from people who live and work in the area and the TTC as well.
I have a passenger in the car. I drive Uber, and I don't really like like it.
It has to be done, but it's a total drag. It's just unfortunate that we have to do it all at once.
It'll definitely affect me because I live at Bain College, but I guess it has to be done. Honestly, I have to figure out how I'm going to get my car in the parking lot on Bay Street. So that's the biggest thing right now for me.
We get that it's frustrating for people, but this is such important work for us and for the city, and we're partnering together so that we're not, us and the city are not doing two different pieces of work. It's one big piece of work, get it done, and then it's good for us. It'll be good for 25 years.
So if you're traveling to the Bain College area or through this area, the message from officials is to plan ahead and give yourself some extra time. Now, this work will pause in mid-April for the FIFA World Cup, and that means the intersection of Bain College will reopen during that time. And when that wraps up, construction will continue in at the end of July on the next two phases of this major work, and that's expected to last until the end of the year. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. There are more early nightly closures for subway riders to be aware of this week. Starting tonight, service will end at 11 on Line 1 between Finch and Eglinton stations for planned tunnel work. On Line 2, trains will be replaced by buses between Keele and St. George stations starting at 11:59 p.m. Both closures are scheduled to last through Thursday. Regular service will resume each morning at 6.
A new poll suggests a majority of Ontarians oppose another pay increase for MPPs. The Leger survey, which was commissioned by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, found 75% of Ontarians are against MPPs getting a pay raise this year. That's compared to just 12% in favor. MPPs are due to get an estimated 4.2% pay bump on April 1st. They also voted to give themselves a 35% raise last year and reinstated annual pay raises for whenever federal MPs get a raise.
A new study suggests there's been a sharp rise in young men contacting Ontario's helpline for gambling-related problems. The study, published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, examined Connex Ontario, the province's 24-hour mental health and addictions helpline. Researchers tracked the number of contacts for boys and men between 15 and 24 years old from January of 2012 to September of 2025. They say there were notable increases before January 2015 when the province launched the gambling platform Play OLG, as well as the period following Ontario's expansion of private online gambling in April of 2022.
We're following developing news related to the future of the Weston Lions Arena.
MLSE now says the facility will be able to keep its ice surface as part of upcoming renovations. CTV's Natalie Johnson's been following this story and joins us live now from City Hall with more. And Natalie, this is a big story.
Yeah, Nathan, that's right. After a nearly year-long battle to save the ice at the historic arena from redevelopment, there is confirmation from City Hall and MLSE today that there is a win for the hockey community out in Weston. Councillor Francis Nunziata, who represents the ward, calling this a made-in-Weston solution that will allow MLSE to operate a multi-sport hub for youth programming adjacent to a renewed ice surface. MLSE telling CTV News in a statement that it is ensuring the initiative fully responds to the community's changing needs, writing, quote, as MLSE works in partnership with the province and the city to support both the Weston Lions Arena and the surrounding Weston community. The aim of this expanded partnership is to preserve the ice rink as a focal point of the arena while supporting the revitalization of the facility and delivering life-changing programming to benefit the community. Here's more from the Premier responding this morning.
I want to thank Mohammed Friend, Councillor Nunziata, Mayor Chow, and of course Keith Pelly over at MLSE. Everyone's working collaboratively together. Another example, when you work together, folks, things get done.
And let's bring in Councillor Brad Bradford, who was one of two councillors who originally voted against the plan that effectively removed the ice from the Weston Arena. Councillor Bradford, what's your reaction to the news today?
Well, again, I was never in favor of closing down a hockey rink here in the city of Toronto, one of only two councillors to oppose it at the time. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased that Councillor Nunziata and Mayor Chow have decided to work with the community in Weston to find a solution that responds to all of the different user groups that make use of the facilities facilities in Weston, and very grateful for MLSE and their flexibility to come up with a design and a proposal that responds to those concerns. I think a lot of people get frustrated that it's been a year of back and forth animosity within the community, pitting different community groups against one another. That never had to be the case, and I think the announcement today shows that there was a better way forward, and I'm glad that we're all on the right side of that issue today.
And why do you think it took so long to broker this compromise? You had the hockey community battling for the solution month after month. We saw petitions, we saw deputations. Nearly a year in, we're finally at this point, just ahead of the redevelopment.
Well, I think Mayor Chow and Councillor Nunziata were very wedded to a solution that was not necessarily the right solution for the problem. The Weston Arena is an old facility. It's been operating more than 70 years. It needs some investment to keep it going. The city neglected to do that over the years and effectively ran it into the ground. And so I think it was a convenient off-ramp for Mayor Chow and Councillor Nunziata to sort of turn this over and turn it into something different. We're grateful for the investment from MLSE and the launch pad, which is a model that works really well. But I think the problem here was this was never the right proposal or the right location. We don't want to be cannibalizing existing recreation facilities here in the city. We don't have enough of them. So what we're going to come back with, hopefully, is a proposal that maintains hockey ice and the arena while providing an opportunity to do the MLSE launch pad, which is a terrific program.
Okay, excellent. We understand that the design work is underway at this point with specific details to be unveiled in the second quarter of this year. That's it for now from City Hall. I'm Natalie Johnson. Back to you, Michelle and Nathan.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Councillor. Warming centers are open in the city amid another round of freezing cold conditions. 5 sites located at 81 Elizabeth Street, 349 George Street, 885 Scarborough Golf Club Road, 12 Holmes Avenue, and 136 Spadina Road are open. They provide vulnerable residents a place to get out of the cold, rest, and have a meal. The sites open when temperatures drop below -5 degrees or when Environment Canada issues a winter weather event warning. The city's surge sites are currently closed. They open when temperatures hit -15 or below. And Hamilton has issued a cold weather alert. The city says it has notified community agencies that work with people who are vulnerable and experiencing homelessness. Recreation centers and public libraries are available as warming spaces during regular business hours.
And we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. It's a cold start to the week, but we're likely to see a big temperature swing in the other direction in the coming days, and that makes these cold days a bit more manageable, knowing that warmer days are ahead. Lindsay Morrison has to look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, I totally agree. We're going to see these prolonged cold periods become a lot shorter as we make our way through what is now meteorological spring as of yesterday. Still a little ways to go before astronomical spring. It's felt like winter the last day or so. It is -6 degrees this hour at Pearson Airport, but here's a look at what many of us woke up to. It was nearly -14 degrees early this morning at Pearson Airport. Temperatures in the -20s around Peterborough, into the -30s around Algonquin Park. Core temperatures, not wind chills. The winds are actually pretty light today and at this hour. Coming out of the southeast, though, that is important. On the satellite and radar, not a whole lot in the way of cloud cover. We are enjoying a bright, sunshiny day today with a daytime high forecast to be about -5 degrees. Remember this because the rest of your 7-day forecast looks a lot warmer. We'll take you through what you need to know when it comes to precipitation types as well. That's ahead in your forecast. But for now, Michelle, I'm going to send it over to you.
All right, look forward to it. Thank you, Lindsay. Canada's largest public sector union has filed a grievance as the Carney government moves to slash the size of the federal civil service by 28,000 positions by the year 2029. The Public Service Alliance of Canada said it's made that grievance claim over an early retirement incentive program offered to thousands of workers. PSAC says it supports any effort to prevent involuntary layoffs, but it says the offers circumvent key obligations under existing collective agreements. The union called for those offers to be paused for consultations and as alternative positions are sought for potentially impacted employees. The government says the retirement incentives aren't available until the budget implementation bill becomes law. And Prime Minister Mark Carney has wrapped up that 4-day visit to India, capping the trip by signing a series of deals worth billions of dollars.
CTV's Abigail Beeman's been traveling with the Prime Minister and has the latest.
Prime Minister Mark Carney invited India's Prime Minister to visit Canada. We're told Narendra Modi accepted, but there is no timeline for that visit. At a joint signing ceremony, India and Canada announced 5 memorandums of understanding, deals on critical minerals, energy and AI. The pair committed to finalizing a new broad trade deal by the end of the year, and Canada announced 10 commercial deals with India, including a highly anticipated $2.6 billion deal to sell uranium from Saskatchewan to India. But the Prime Minister's office cancelled Carney's first media availability of the trip, blaming Modi meetings that ran long and a flight to Australia that couldn't be pushed back. Carney has not taken any questions about potential foreign interference by India since a Canadian government official suggested Wednesday India was no longer actively carrying out those activities. The Foreign Affairs Minister, for the first time, pushed back.
The words of the senior official are not words that I personally would use. I agree with his comments relating to the guardrails that we have in place.
The Prime Minister wraps up his 4-day trip to India here in New Delhi and heads next to Australia, where the itinerary includes addressing Parliament. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, New Delhi.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is in London today, meeting with British political and business leaders. Poilievre says his trip is aimed at deepening trade and security between the UK and Canada. He's also scheduled to attend a reception this evening for an international body promoting closer ties on trade, migration and foreign policy between Canada, Australia, New Zealand and the UK. Poilievre is also set to travel to Germany later this week. The conflict between the U.S., Israel and Iran is expanding, with Iran and Iranian-backed militias firing missiles at Israel and Arab states.
Those attacks come as the U.S. and Israel continue to bomb targets within Iran. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has the latest from Istanbul.
Here in Istanbul, the war being waged in this region is being watched closely. Iran and Turkey share a land border more than 500 kilometers long, and the close proximity to the fighting is weighing heavily on the minds of many as the tentacles of this war begin to spread and take hold. This video shows a fighter jet in Kuwait falling from the sky. Officials in that country confirming that a number of U.S. fighter jets crashed, though all crew members have survived. U.S. Central Command say 3 of its F-15 jets flying in support of Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. operation in Iran, went down over Kuwait due to an apparent friendly fire incident. In Saudi Arabia, heavy smoke could be seen billowing from this oil refinery after an Iranian drone strike was reported there. Early this morning, a British Air Force base in Cyprus says it too was targeted by an Iranian drone attack. Meanwhile, Israel and U.S. forces are increasing their pressure on Iran and its proxies in the region. The Israeli military confirming they've taken aim at Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, where at least 31 people are said to have been killed after the IDF accused Hezbollah of firing rockets towards Israel. Now, inside Iran, Red Crescent workers say more than 500 people have been killed, including at least 153. That includes children who died here when a U.S.-Israeli attack hit this school. Meanwhile, President Trump is warning that attacks on Iran will continue until all of Washington's objectives are achieved, while promising to avenge the death of 3 American soldiers who died in combat. This is a conflict that is escalating. Many here are pondering what the days ahead may have in store. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Istanbul.
And we bring in CTV's Scott Hurst, who joins us live now for more on the situation in the Middle East. Scott, what's the latest from your perspective?
Michelle, it is just day 3 of this U.S. military operation, but we're already seeing this conflict widening as strikes across the Middle East continue to intensify. Tehran launching counterstrikes, as well as Iran-supported militant groups, including Hezbollah, threatening more regional security, as you heard Adrian outline there. I can add more details from U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth speaking earlier today, detailing more of the U.S. objectives, and that is to ultimately destroy Iran's missile threat, destroy its navy, and destroy its ability to ever have a nuclear weapon. Now, from Canada's perspective, we also heard from Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand earlier today, outlining that Canada had no prior knowledge of the military operation against Iran that the U.S. launched early on the weekend, and says Canada has not and will not be involved in any ongoing military operations. Minister Anand went on to say Canada is talking to its allies in the region, pushing for a more diplomatic solution. But in a previous statement saying Canada supports the U.S. acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, while saying also that Canada does stand with the Iranian people. Here's more from Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand.
The conversations that I've had in that vein have yielded differing responses. Some countries believe that a diplomatic solution is not possible at this time. Others want to work as quickly as possible to ensure diplomacy becomes the next phase of this horrific situation.
So we also heard the U.S. president earlier today saying that this could take several weeks, that this operation could continue to last for several weeks. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth would not put a specific time frame on it, but as you heard from the Foreign Affairs Minister there detailing the path to potentially trying to find a diplomatic solution, it appears that the diplomacy off-ramp may be hard to find for the time being, looking back to the comments from the U.S. president and the U.S. Secretary of War.
CTV's Scott Hurst, live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
The U.S. and Israeli strikes were linked in part to concerns about Tehran's nuclear development. But as of this morning, the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog says related facilities across Iran don't appear to have been struck.
Regarding the status of the nuclear installations in Iran, up to now, we have no indication that any of the nuclear installations, including the Bushehr nuclear power plant, the Tehran research reactor, or other nuclear fuel cycle facilities have been damaged or hit.
Those comments directly contradict a claim made today by Iran's ambassador to the International Atomic Energy Agency. He accused the U.S. and Israel of hitting the Natanz enrichment facility 220 kilometers south of the capital. The ambassador said claims Iran wants to develop nuclear weapons are a big lie.
Meanwhile, Iran's place at this summer's FIFA World Cup is now in question. Iran was set to play its 3 group stage matches in the U.S., 2 in California, 1 in Seattle. Now Iran's top soccer official says he's not hopeful about the event. It's not clear if Iran's soccer federation will refuse to send its team or if the U.S. government will block Iran from participating. FIFA has declined to comment, saying it will monitor developments.
Oil prices have surged as the conflict in the Middle East expands. Brent crude, the global benchmark for oil prices, has jumped by 10%, reaching more than $82 a barrel. Natural gas prices are also surging by as much as 25%. Iran has warned vessels not to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, where about 20% of the world's oil and gas is shipped. Experts are also warning that if Iran disrupts tanker traffic, it could cause the price of crude oil to push past $90 a barrel.
A record crowd packed into Mexico City's main square last night for a free concert from music superstar Shakira. More than 400,000 people gathered to watch the show from the Colombian Grammy winner. It took place in the Zocalo, also known as Mexico City's Constitution Square. That was nearly double the around 200,000 fans who came to the same square for her 2007 show, which also saw a record breaker at the time. The singer thanked fans who camped out to attend. Shakira remains one of the top-selling female artists in Mexico. Lindsay.
Well, with February now in the rear view, we take a look back at the month that was, and no question it has been a cold and snowy winter here in the city of Toronto. Interestingly enough, though, we had average snowfall amounts here in the city for February specifically. It's because we had so much snow in January, and ahead of that, take a look at what I'm talking about. It's because we had so much snow ahead of that it has ended up being such a snowy winter. Here's a look at the monthly norms for March, in case you're curious what the next few weeks could bring. And I mentioned it off the top, but just a reminder that meteorological spring actually began yesterday. We will look ahead to the spring equinox on March 20th for astronomical spring. That's when most people mark the season on their calendar. It's likely to feel like spring in the coming days. We'll take you through the forecast after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, it's so nice to start off the week with bright sunshine. Yes, definitely cool, but we're talking about mild temperatures coming this way this week and springing forward with the clocks. All the signs of spring are happening.
Yeah, it just changes the attitude because you know that there's so much reason to be optimistic because so many great things to look forward to.
Yeah, I was even feeling some spring vibes on Saturday. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but it was mild enough during the day to maybe spend some time outside. I think I saw a few kids dusting off the bicycles and hitting the dry pavement. But yeah, we still have some snow out there. We have a little bit of active weather that's going to come this week, but you're right, some milder temperatures move in for the second half of this work and school week. Maybe not 20 degrees as some were starting to speculate, but I think we'll take double-digit highs, won't we? Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, injury lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Quite the contrast, though, to this morning when it was bitterly cold. We were in double digits, minus double digits, though, on the other side of the temperature spectrum, and it just looked cold looking outside. Lots of sunshine out there today, so at least there is that. Just make sure you bundle up if you're going to venture out for a walk. I encourage you to do so. Get that vitamin D. And just want to point out there, this shot from above of Lake Ontario, yeah, not a whole lot of ice left. So do take care anywhere around frozen lakes, ponds. They may not be all that frozen anymore. Here's a look at our current temperature. It's -6 degrees at Pearson Airport, wind chill -10. It is still a little bit colder in northern parts of Ontario, but not a huge difference anymore. Through the afternoon, we are forecasting a daytime high of about -5 degrees today. That sunshine, glorious, and the sun is starting to feel a little bit warmer too. Perhaps you've noticed that. Here's a look at our almanac. Seasonal norm is +2. We're going to soar above that a couple of times this week. So far, the provincial hotspot is Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario, right at the freezing mark. Tonight's low, for us here locally anyway, down to about -9 degrees. Once again, feeling into the minus teens, but at least that core temperature won't be in the minus teens. And then tomorrow, +1 for a high. This is one of those tricky days that we're going to start to see a few more of as we make our way through the next several weeks. That temperature close to freezing means that the arrival of some precipitation in the afternoon could come in the form of some rain showers, maybe some snow flurries, perhaps even a little bit of freezing rain. But as you're about to see, it's also possible that the incoming system will miss us entirely. So we've got a big one stateside. That is a miss for us. We're tracking the next one developing. It could slide across southwestern Ontario, maybe impacting areas as far north as Hamilton, the west end of the GTA, timing-wise. So just a heads up on that for tomorrow afternoon and early evening. Again, at this point, it's looking like a miss for the city of Toronto. And then a mix of sun and cloud expected for your Wednesday. And then Thursday through Saturday, these are our mild days, but we're also looking at some periods of rain. So expect more in the way of melting out there, perhaps some localized flooding. 7 degrees for Friday. And how about the weekend? Forecasting 11 at this point on Saturday and +10 on Sunday. That's your look at the weather. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Maple Leafs will be looking to snap a 3-game losing skid when they face off with the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. The Leafs are coming off a 5-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators on Saturday. The team has not won a game since the Olympic break. Puck drop for tonight's game against the Flyers is set for just after 7:30 at Scotiabank Arena.
Still to come, the only lunar eclipse of the year is set to happen early tomorrow morning. We'll have more on the rare celestial event when we return. Stay with us. There's an early wake-up call for sky watchers tomorrow morning. The first and only total lunar eclipse of this year will turn the moon blood red.
And for more, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. So, Dan, first, a new study suggests for lonely seniors, reading a book by themselves might be better for loneliness, to battle that, than actually socializing with real people.
Weird one, right?
Yeah.
Super weird. So this is a UK study, and we will talk about the eclipse in a second. But so this is a study out of the UK looking at loneliness of people in their 50s and older. And not surprisingly, when people socialize more, they tend to be less lonely. But maybe more surprisingly, when people read a lot, that also helps combat loneliness. And for some people, especially people with a small social group, it's actually stronger. So that person that you know from the book is actually, in a ways, a better friend to you than your actual friends.
Who knew?
Who knew? Oh, can we talk about tomorrow morning? Because some people might want to map out their day and get outside and have a look at this blood moon.
So the great thing about a lunar total eclipse, which is what's coming tomorrow, is it's so much easier than the solar eclipse. It's less dramatic. The solar eclipse is probably one of the most exciting things you could ever see. You got to wear the glasses. You got to know where it's going to be. You got to make sure you time it right. You know, all this stuff. With a lunar eclipse, it's much simpler because the Earth's shadow is covering the moon. So anybody who can see the moon can see the eclipse at the same time. So that's easy. And you don't need any special glasses or anything like that because you're looking at the moon and the light reflected off of it. You're not looking directly at the sun at all. You're looking the opposite direction, in fact. And so what ends up happening is that as the Earth goes between the sun and the moon, most of the light is blocked, but a little bit of light squeaks around the outside of it. And it's almost like, you know how a sunset looks red? Well, it's like the whole Earth has a sunset around it, and that's the light that's hitting the moon. So the moon is bathed in a big, huge sunrise/sunset, and that's what makes it that red color. Tomorrow, it's going to be really easy from about 6 in the morning till about 7 in the morning. It's 6:04 is when totality starts, and 7:02 is when it ends.
Ooh,
plenty of time.
Lots of time. And don't you think there's increased significance this year because there are plans for astronauts to head up there?
Yeah, I mean, the moon does have a different significance, I think, when you can think about people going up there. And like my parents, I remember telling me stories about what it was like to look at the moon and know there were people on it. I look forward to that. That's not coming that soon, but it will be very cool soon when a Canadian is flying around it. But for now, we'll just look at the pretty red color.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so a new study finds that expert birders show signs of slower brain aging.
Yeah.
Novices?
Yeah, this is a Toronto study. I didn't realize this until I was looking at the scientific paper again today. And this is a study that was done in Toronto, taking experts on birding. People that, you know, look at a quick snapshot of some sparrow and can tell you exactly what kind of sparrow it is. That is an expertise that requires very careful attention and requires very quick identification. And those skills change your brain. When you practice that through a lifetime, your brain changes. And so they looked at the brains of a bunch of people who are good birders, a bunch of people who are normal people like me, and who, you know, they're okay, but they're not expert birders. And the researchers could see differences in the density of the parts of the brain associated with that. And they could look at how it changes over time because their birders and non-birders spanned age from their 20s to their 70s. And they could see that the decline that happens to everybody in your brain structure and function was slower for the experts. So it doesn't have to be birds. You don't have to be an expert on birds. If you're an expert on sports, or you're an expert on cars, or you're an expert on just something you have to memorize and remember the name of, celebrities, whatever it is, that's helping protect your brain against the effects of aging. And for some people, it's birds, and that seems to work perfectly well.
For you, it's bats.
For me, it's bats, for sure, for sure.
Dan Riskin, always a pleasure. Love having you here on Mondays. Have a great week.
Pleasure, you too.
Dan.
Thanks.
Well, to other news now, China is ending some tariffs on Canadian shellfish and canola, providing relief for farmers and fishers.
CTV's Alex Carpa has more on what's next for Canada's canola growers.
So potential home out here for a bunch of yellow flowers this summer.
Curtis McRae is thinking about the upcoming farming season. His plans to grow around 2,000 acres of canola this year.
I'm holding the number very close to the same as last year, hoping for markets to rebound.
But last year was anything but easy. Punishing tariffs imposed by China on Canadian canola took a significant toll on farmers like McRae.
I'm out of pocket a bunch of money from last year. It took $1 billion out of family farms' pockets, and I don't think there's anybody thinking about replacing that.
As of Sunday, the 100% tariff on canola meal and peas and a 25% levy on lobsters and crabs won't be imposed by China any longer, a reprieve that will continue through to the end of 2026.
Initial reaction is optimistic because seeding's coming up soon, and hopefully I've made the right cropping decisions.
Prime Minister Mark Carney met earlier this year with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the leaders inked a deal on electric vehicles and canola. Farmer Warren Ellis calls it progress, but says more needs to be done.
Better, but not the whole answer. I mean, it's better. It will allow some through, but there needs to be a lot of work done yet on that.
An economist says the suspension of some canola and seafood tariffs between Canada and China is a win-win for both parties, but says the duties could be reinstated if the relationship deteriorates again.
Diversifying our relationships, both economic and political, has advantages and disadvantages. In this case, the advantage is that we should be able to sell more canola and grain and other agricultural products. But the disadvantage is we no longer can depend on a reliable American partner to protect us.
As for McRae, he says he's looking for stronger support from Ottawa to help ensure family farms can weather future trade disruptions and remain sustainable for years to come. Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Still to come, today's the last day to make an RRSP contribution for the 2025 tax year. We'll have more on the deadline when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A walkout is being held at a school in Oshawa this afternoon in protest over recent cuts to OSAP. This is a live look from the CTV News chopper over O'Neill Collegiate and Vocational Institute. Students say recent cuts to OSAP, as well as the province lifting the 7-year tuition freeze on Ontario colleges and universities, will impact their ability to access post-secondary education. Last month, the province announced sweeping changes to funding for post-secondary institutions in an effort to address their financial struggles.
We return now to one of our top stories. Prime Minister Mark Carney wrapped up his trip to India by signing major agreements with the world's most populous nation. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us now live from Ottawa with more. So Rachel, let's start off with what the two countries agreed to.
Yeah, good afternoon. So big picture, the major takeaway from what Carney and Modi agreed to was launching talks towards a new comprehensive economic partnership agreement that they want to wrap up within the year. That would essentially launch a new trade deal with India. But in addition to those talks getting underway, they both signed 5 memorandums of understanding, one having to do with agriculture, some others on energy and the environment, artificial intelligence as well. And then there were 10 commercial agreements made, some involving pharmaceuticals, coal. There was one with McCain's potatoes, the biggest one being on uranium. And all of those 10 deals are totaling, according to the federal government, around $5.5 billion. So really, as the Prime Minister tries to set relations off with India on a new foot, he's doing so focused on the economic potential of that relationship. But I do think even just noting the two men standing there, it was the first time a Canadian Prime Minister has been in India since 2018, and Carney indicating, quote, "We are one family," was certainly notable.
And what about the issue of foreign interference? It looms large. What's the latest there?
Yeah, absolutely. So heading into this trip, senior government officials were briefing reporters and indicated essentially that Carney wouldn't be going to India if they still had concerns that India was involved in foreign interference in this country, which very recently CSIS has said was the case. So a change of tune. And then we have yet to hear from the Prime Minister on this. You know, he was supposed to have a press conference before taking off for Australia. That was postponed, canceled. The Prime Minister's office saying that was because of the delay in the meeting with Modi. But we did hear from Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Anita Anand, on it. Here's what she had to say.
The words of the senior official are not words that I personally would use. I agree with his comments relating to the guardrails that we have in place, the work we're doing on the security dialogue, the work that we are doing to list the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity, the work we did to expel senior Indian diplomats and senior Indian officials.
So clearly some differentiation there between what the senior government official said and what the political side, what Minister Anand is saying, and that she wouldn't have used those words. She didn't necessarily articulate what words she would use, but clearly there seems to be a lot more to explore here in terms of where the federal government stands on the foreign interference question. And certainly I'm sure our colleague Abigail Beeman, who is traveling with the Prime Minister, and all the other reporters there will be looking to find that opportunity to press the Prime Minister on this, hear from him directly as soon as they're able.
Yeah, definitely still looms large. CTV's Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, in Ottawa, entrepreneur recently found herself at odds with one of the biggest girl groups ever.
She's been selling spices under the brand name Spice Girls, spelt differently, but the British band has told her to cease and desist. CTV's Judy Trin has the story.
Lily Bond is making taco spice from a homemade recipe that she started selling in local farmers markets as a 13-year-old girl.
My mom was often with me when I was younger, and because she was helping me out, so it was like, oh, there's the Spice Girls.
The name stuck in 2017. Then a year later, her spice made it onto grocery shelves in Ottawa.
I loved creating something of my own, and seeing that on the shelves, it was the most rewarding and incredible experience of my life.
To differentiate herself, Bond changed the spelling, replacing an I with a Y and using a Z. She applied for a trademark in 2022, and a year later, it was approved by the Canadian Intellectual Property Office. She rented space in a commercial kitchen and expanded her flavors, selling them in more stores. Then in 2024, she got a letter from a law firm representing ginger, sporty, baby, posh and scary. It wasn't what she really wanted. Bond was accused of trademark infringement. Lawyers said that consumers could mistakenly believe that her goods were somehow associated with the real Spice Girls.
It was a little scary. It was pretty overwhelming. I was really just trying to focus on, making the spices.
With not enough money to hire a lawyer to fight a potential lawsuit, Bond is giving up, an experience that has left her disillusioned with the super girl band.
I think that they have a band that is, or a brand essentially, that was built around female empowerment. And that's why part of me believes that maybe they don't know, because if they really are promoting or continuing to promote what they had built their brand on, I don't think they themselves would want to take me down for it.
Bond will now have to change the name of her company, just as a national grocery chain has expressed interest in carrying her spices, in part because of the branding. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Today is the deadline to make an RRSP contribution for the 2025 tax year. Any contributions made after today will have to be claimed as deductions on a 2026 tax return. The deduction limit for 2025 is 18% of earned income, up to a maximum of roughly $32,000.
Coming up, discovering a ghost galaxy. We'll have more on the Toronto team behind the out-of-this-world find when we come back. A team of researchers in Toronto is being celebrated for their discovery of a so-called ghost galaxy.
As CTV's John Venevelle-Rao tells us, they hope the find will help shed some light on some of the mysteries of our universe.
In this NASA video, you can see our own Milky Way galaxy, and in the bottom left, another galaxy that's truly easy to spot. Here's zooming in on Andromeda, which is home to an estimated 1 trillion stars. And galaxies like this, well, there are hundreds of billions in the visible universe. And if that isn't mind-boggling enough, now a Canadian-led team are getting attention because of what you can't see in the middle of this image, a so-called dark or ghost galaxy that's nearly invisible.
For me, I think it's just cool because they are essentially extremely dark, and they're very special compared to like all the other normal galaxies that we know.
Based on research started at the University of Toronto, a team used the Hubble Space Telescope and 2 other powerful instruments, including Europe's Euclid Space Telescope, to look for theoretical and elusive dark galaxies.
This galaxy is super hard to detect.
Dark galaxies are believed to be almost entirely made up of dark matter, which doesn't reflect or emit light, and thought to make up about 85% of the mass in our universe.
You and me, we are all made up of normal matter or visible matter. But for dark matter, it's not that, right? And we don't know exactly what it is.
To find a dark galaxy, the researchers located a dark patch deep in space that has 4 ancient clusters of stars, each one looking like this, and normally found orbiting galaxies. The researchers think that's what's happening here, only the galaxy is dark.
We basically want to call anything we don't know dark. But dark matter in this instance is, even though we don't know what it is, we know it's real.
though some even question that. A reminder there's a lot we don't understand about the cosmos.
The older I get, the more I realize that I really don't know anything.
A dark galaxy shedding light on the mysteries of the universe. John Vedavali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
So, I mean, could I discover a dark galaxy? I think any of us could.
Potential. It just makes you wonder what is out there. And at least tomorrow, if you're willing to get up early, you'll be able to have a nice look at this amazing total lunar eclipse. Will the clouds get in the way, do you think?
So I was going to talk about that, but the nice thing is you don't need a telescope for this one. You can just step outside and take a look. That's if the clouds don't get in the way. We do expect that we will have mainly clear skies this evening, and for at least part of the overnight hours. -9 is our forecast low for tonight, wind chill -14, but that cloud cover is expected to build, so fingers crossed we get a good view early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's forecast daytime high is +1. It's going to be a mostly cloudy day, at least here. A little more sunshine east and north of the GTA. And in the afternoon, we could get clipped with a little bit of mixed precip, but it doesn't look like a whole lot right now on the forecast radar. Here's your 7-day forecast. The precip will be a little steadier as we make our way into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But look at the temperatures that go along with it. 11 degrees by Saturday. Nathan and
Looks great, double digits. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Gallagher. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.